Pleasure to be here, and now it's getting a little bit more practical, meaning we're climbing up the age ladder after speaking after Ralph. We clearly see there is no teen, Generation Z, or whoever on the stage, but rather the seasoned participants. I call myself a validator, thanks to Michael Erfert, the head of Eurowings Digital, who's also in the audience, and thanks certainly to Ralph and the team for being part of the Camino Network and certainly for Chain for Travel. I have no slides, so picture show is over. I try to shed some, let's say, practical light into the question how airlines can make use of blockchain, of a new type of inventory management, since it's a very precious part of our business. Number one, without bragging, of course, Eurowings in the meantime is a quite sizable operation. We operate 120 aircraft, and we have about 600 flights a day, and we have to sell more than 100,000 seats per day, or in order to keep our capacity busy. Alone to Palma de Mallorca, we fly in summer daily 400 times a week from 22 airports, so it's quite a dense network. We're the biggest international carrier here on the island, and together, certainly with our group mates of the Lufthansa Group, it's even 550 flights to the Balearic Islands. And certainly we're one of the biggest leisure point-to-point carriers in Europe. I'm not saying this in order to brag, but I'm trying to illustrate that, selling such a huge capacity is a huge challenge, and I will certainly give you a little bit more insight. The airline industry is an asset-intense, meaning an expensive industry. Everything is very expensive. Airplanes, whatever have you, really cost a fortune. And unfortunately, we're surrounded by monopolists, duopolists, or oligopolists, meaning the participants in the value chain have a lot of pricing power. So we have two main aircraft manufacturers. We have only a few engine manufacturers. Airports are monopolists. Air traffic control are monopolists. Fuel is designed by the market. So it's very, very hard to manage your cost. And this is why certainly inventory management for us is absolutely crucial, because we have to sell our product just on time. If I fly back to Frankfurt later on at 7:10 p.m., the problem is I cannot sell this flight at 5 p.m., I cannot sell it at 8 p.m. It's got to be sold exactly to the optimal revenue at 7:10 p.m. Because if the door is closed, the seat is empty, the contribution margin is zero. So this is how perishable an airline product is, and this is why we're very sophisticated in revenue management for many, many years. And I think we've been the blueprint as an industry for many other industries, being hotels, car rental, and other industries, of dynamic pricing. Because, to get the utmost revenue for that perishable product, leaving exactly on a certain time, on a certain day, you really have to be very flexible and dynamic in your pricing capabilities. And I think we've developed revenue management capabilities and, of course, predictive analytics and a little bit of AI and whatever have you, long before we even knew how to call them exactly. So every day, we manage systematically more than 10 million prices alone at Eurowings. So it's quite a massive inventory which needs to be treated in a very professional way. So it's absolutely our lifeline. And very generally speaking, and of course there are many shades of gray, but there is the so-called seat-only business, where we just sell an airplane seat if you want to buy a flight. And there is the packaging part, where basically our distribution partners, especially, of course, the tour operators, are taking a huge chunk of our capacity, and we sell B2B, so to speak. And as you can imagine, many APIs are existed in our world, and Ralph just illustrated it very nicely. A lot of them are not compatible. You cannot just replicate. They're incompatible. They're expensive to establish. They're expensive to maintain. And therefore, it's really a very costly endeavor, yet allows us, of course, for a lot of direct connections in order to be connected directly between the supply and the demand. However, Also, other systems like dynamic packaging, a good illustration from Manuel, by the way, but dynamic packaging is kicking in. So all of a sudden, your product as an airline seat gets combined with something else, be it an excursion, be it, of course, a hotel or a car rental. So, and we also have to get prepared that we can serve this part of the business. However, it's very, very cost intensive. The availability displays are basically not very reliable. How often do we see that offer is selectable, but once you want to book it, it's not available anymore? And believe me, it didn't happen in the 3 seconds until you hit the button. And certainly, we need to be faster. We need to be more cost efficient. We need to be more reliable in availabilities. We need to allow more personalized offers, of course, and we need to reduce countless interfaces and APIs which are existent in the current world. And instead of establishing these APIs, I think Ralf gave a very good example. Yes, lively here, like in a WhatsApp methodology, but certainly running in the background between the servers, how you could alternatively transfer inventory and, of course, ask for prices and put up a commercial transaction if you use the messenger services of the Camino Network. I think that's a great example on how we can walk away from that traditional GDS, but also, of course, direct connect / API environment, which we're using today in order to just be more efficient, more precise, more personalized as we are today. If we look at the other side of the business, basically, we look at the tour operator, and we still work also here on very seasoned technology in countless interfaces, from airline inventories to Midgard system to even Excel sheets to APIs, whatever have we. I mean, honestly, this is like being pulled back into the 80s, where all these systems, even sometimes before, have been invented. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of willingness to change that, because quite a few participants in that value chain are sitting on a GDS or other type of tech stack, which shows nice margins in that monopolistic or duopolistic or oligopolistic marketplace, which of course doesn't, call for a lot of innovation and a lot of change. But I think for us, it's basically very important, because if we sell B2B, we do this not only in order to generate a base load. If we have huge contracts, let's say for a flight between Düsseldorf and Palma de Mallorca on the 12th of August, and we get a commitment for 500 seats. There are different contracts behind it, right? So number one, you can say, well, it's a prepaid contract. A prepaid contract gives you the highest discount as a tour operator, but yet you have to take that inventory, of course, and you're quite firmly committed. There is very low flexibility in order to resell it, to change it, to return some of that inventory back to the airline, because, we have the money, we want that commitment to be made, and at the same time, of course, you get a good discount in return. There are also the so-called pool agreements, where there's a little less discount, there's a little bit more flexibility, there's a little bit more possibility to grab that inventory on short notice. However, also, it's a little clumsy to handle, because all of these agreements, and these are just two examples, they come with rules, right? You cannot resell this product. You cannot combine this product or put it into the market as a seat only, because it's only meant to be in a package. You cannot basically give it back, or only to a certain extent. And that all is, or we try to enforce the compliance of these contracts with our distribution and sales force. We try to work with our tour operators, and of course, sometimes there is a need to say, listen, on the 12th of August, I committed you the 200 passengers. Unfortunately, I only need 150 seats. Can you please take the 50 seats back? Because it's a big bill, what otherwise, accumulates at the tour operator. And that is all a manual process. Again, Excel sheets, telephone calls, whatever have you. And I believe if you put that inventory on blockchain, of course, having smart contracts in the background, you can do everything. You can define every condition of that commercial transaction, B2B transaction, in order to say, yes, you can return maybe 10 of these seats. You can maybe resell 50 of these seats to other, let's say, tour operators, also B2B, but only in packages of 20 seats. And by the way, for each of that transaction, when my inventory gets passed on, I get a commission as Eurowings, because I want to have not only control about my inventory, but I want, of course, the commercialization of that inventory when it moves through the market. So a marketplace methodology is actually a very, very powerful tool for us in order to really get a better hold on how we interact with tour operators or also OTAs in that regard, but also to enforce the conditions which have a direct linkage and a direct connection to the commercials of certain inventories. And that is for us something which is very, very strong. I think if we really look into that, we can even have the NFTs behind it. So every ticket, every ancillary service, you can basically convert into an NFT, which is very, very easy, as we learned today. So there is no need to physically spit out tickets in thousands of different ways. I think there's big room for consolidation when it really comes to the airline environment and blockchain environment of tomorrow. And from my point of view, I think once you have everything in your wallet, if you have consolidated, as also Ralf showed a little bit and others, we have a much easier way than to work with thousands or hundreds of apps in our phones in order to have everything stored in a wallet, to really have the possibility to pass on inventory. Products and services are for resale. I have everything where it should be. It's directly connected to my crypto wallet, as an example, which is also a nice thing and gives us much more flexibility as consumers, as business partners, be it on the demand or be it on the supply side. So I think that is really something which is a true game-changing element for the airline industry as such. As I said, a number of participants in that marketplace are sitting on extremely nice margins because it's a legacy tech stack, so to speak. And for that reason, we need a lot of teammates here in this network, in this round, in order to get this going, because there's always a stumbling block or a missing piece in that in that value chain, which hinders us from bringing this to life. This is also why I don't have a live demonstration. There is no live demonstration of what I'm just talking about, right? It's really something which has a vast potential, but needs to be established. And of course, as I said, we need a lot of teammates. I think I talk about you. We are all in for that. We're ready for that as Eurowings. I think also the good examples from the Lufthansa Group and Lufthansa Airlines showed today with Uptrip and other things that were very innovative. We want to move that needle. We want to be the first movers in that regard. And there's very little has happened so far in the airline industry. This is why we need to push. I want to thank especially Chain for Travel, Camino Network for that great collaboration. I think, honestly, we are on the edge of really taking a quantum leap forward into a new technology, into a new environment, into a new inventory management, which also for the commercialization of airlines is extremely important. Thank you very much.